let's see what's going on here, chat. There's another video I wanted to give a look to, since this is something I've been noticing a lot. Of like, I have my own suspicions about why do gaming channels stop playing video games. Obviously a lot of them have sadly went down the alt-right pipeline. I'm looking at you, Admin Go, as an example. I'm kind of curious to see what the take is on this. Because my take is the whole thing of...
Why did gaming channels stop? Cause they been fucking posers, fake gamers lol.
Did where my logic come in, X? Of like, my logic is, especially when it comes to like live streaming, and I guess in return by making, you know, long form content as well, is like, at least from my point of view, is I think a lot of them will like they can make so much more money doing other stuff. Not only with, you know, like the Gen Z stuff and whatnot, you know, the current generation of like Twitch streamers, that example, from last, what, probably last like 7-8 years, probably, give or take.
Real gamers, Shroud, Summit, Lyric, Smokey, Josh Og, Rat Earl, Grims, to say guys been gaming for well over 5 years, still real gamers.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like what? Like, Elite with Summit and Lyric anyway, and Shroud is, you know, old hats. Because I feel, I guess you could say Admin Go at old hat, technically. But I feel like a lot of them are just more in the camp of like, real life, once again, like ever since, I would say probably ever since the Battle Royale that was Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Combat.
The ones I named are old hats too lol.
Okay, they are. Well, so I think that it will the comment come in. Because, like, don't get me wrong, we have days where we go off the well a little bit, but that got more to do with me being tired than anything. But
all those been around same time as Summit lol.
Yeah, because like for me, I come from the end of 2011, early 2012 days, which is probably why we still 90% game when we're not, you know, going off in the tangent. But we still gaming related when we go off in tangent most of the time. But yeah, I think a lot of the newer streamers.
I only stream gaming, no cam, just straight music and gameplay, baby, nothing more.
There you go, that's something. But yeah, I think a lot of them just realize, like, why a lot of them, I still think, like, a mix of people chasing money, chasing popularity and fame.
But I've been around since start of Twitch, like since X-Fire.
Oh god, the X-Fire days. God, that take me back. So
in the WOG, just not a big name lol.
Yeah, I can understand that. Literally look at my channel. but yeah, I think a lot of them like will like doing like the mix of I would say like the current generation of streamer, you know, the Kai types, like that generation. I think a lot of them just, you know, kind of came up on like the whole ninja stuff, and you could also, you know, name a couple other people as well out there. Another one would be like Lugwood type of people that came up watching that content and just, you know, decided to go the more IOL way. And then I think the other reason why a lot of like gamer stuff, like the example being like Admin Go going like full on, you know, political, white leaning, you know, side. Mainly came from a mix of money and let's be honest here, is like, you know, the whole being a Nazi, you know, play to a bait that is, you know, very, I get watchable. So the main reason why I know a lot more money in white leaning content appeal to left leaning.
Not kidding, Troy. Evidence lol, just skim it or fact check me. Wahaha.
Let me see. What did that say? Okay. Oh yeah, when it was 13 years ago. Wait, is it 1.0? Is it 14 1.0? Oh god, this is 14 1.0. Yeah, 13 years ago. They get into like right there with you on this.
Twitch is 14 years old and that's 1.0.
Yep. Yeah, so that would have been what, 2012-ish as well? Yeah, that would have been about 2012 as well. So yeah. I would honestly put you in the old hat as well. So 100% in the old hat. Okay, it is 1.0. I thought it was 1.0 from the menus. But yeah, I think honestly, I think a mix of a lot of content creator going IOL for, you know, trying to capture the youth, you know, trying to keep the demographic low because, you know, low, or the age being lower on demographic usually mean more diehard fan. That usually mean more people watching. That
2 times I almost had audience lol, but I killed them off. I just didn't feel right. It was weird for me.
Oh, I feel you on that. My version of that was going from Metro Play to going to you know, being a solo streamer. So I feel you on that one. Like, that's the time that I did it, but that also kind of was more related to leaving the job. But, you know.
It was that mentality of I have to just play 1 or 2 games and can't game what I want, but then I decide to just say fuck it lol.
Yeah, because honestly, also for mental health reasons, and it also reason to do that as well. You know, being trapped in one thing, which is the main reason why I have my rule done, which I know work against me, of the whole thing. You know, I only gonna make content on the stuff I actually enjoy. At least long term, you know, if it's something like one-off that we just testing, it's like, yeah, 1 or 2 videos, whatever. But if I'm doing anything like, say, like PSO, like Dune, like Wayfinder, like anything of that ilk that gonna get me, you know, I would say more than 10 videos, and like, I gotta actually enjoy it, or I'm just not gonna do it. But that kind of the way I went. I know it, like, let's be honest, we would probably would been better cases if I continue with certain projects. You know, you know, PSO was on the way down, but still, wouldn't have been such a fat drop if, you know, if I let my my own morality not come into play. But yeah, that's the main reason why I have like that rule for me. Like, it gotta be something I actually enjoy and want to make videos on it. If it's gonna get more than 10 videos for me, hell, any more than like 2 to 3 is saying something. But yeah, like I was saying though, it's like I think a lot of content creators either went the way of trying to get the younger demographic because they are more reliable for views and by proxy money when it comes to like ads and sponsors and like that stuff. Then you have, I think, the white-leaning content creator, the admin gold types, that will, like, it's really, really easy to make money off of bigots. Let's be honest. It's like they are. The reason why there's so many more grifter on the white side appelled to the left side when it comes to, like, you know, political opinions of life. And then the other side of this, I think, also is the people that just got fucked. Thanks to, like, the Gamergate shit. And, you know, around the time you started seeing it, like, switch away from, like, gaming, was also getting into, you know, the 2016, 2020 time. You know, when this shit was biking any higher. But yeah, that will, like, my theory come in on this. So let's see how well me and that lady opinion lines up, because I'm kind of curious.
YouTubers used to actually cover gaming. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Once upon a time, gaming ruled YouTube. Reviews, Let's Plays and retrospectives pulled in millions of viewers and whole career.
Yeah, that was like 2011. Pretty much when like the rise of Let's Play was like the way to make money on YouTube. I would say, like, don't get me wrong, they were gaming stuff pre-2011. But I would say like 2011 to what, like 2015-ish was like the main time, you know, the times of the Markiplier, the PewDiePie's, like, that ilk. very much came up in like the 2011 time period.
Were built on little more than a controller, a microphone, and a half-decent capture card. But now, those...
Oh yeah, that other thing. That also when capture card got reasonable. Like back in 2011, 2012, you could get a capture card for like, you know, you go the Dazzle way, which the way I went, you could get a Dazzle for like $50 back then. And if you wanted something HD, like you was out at most like 200, 250, which obviously it's still expensive any back then, but still way cheaper compared to like the $1,000 cards that was out a few years earlier.
Channels are either changing or fading away. The fact of the matter is that gaming YouTube hasn't just declined, it's collapsing. So, bearing this in mind, the mystery isn't whether gaming creators are dying out. The numbers prove they are. The mystery is why.
Also, I will add a point here. The other thing about this is video game content creation on YouTube. If you are someone who is monetized and trying to make a living off of it, it paid the worst. It very much on the bottom of the pay scale. If you're a video game content creator. Like, don't get me wrong, you can make up the dead same if you do, like, sponsors and stuff, but 100%, like, the amount you get paid is dog shit when it comes to, video game content. And then, of course, you know, the higher tier is more so, like, business, and then you have, of course, like, lifestyle, makeup, underneath that. But, yeah, video game pay like shit on YouTube.
Why are channels that once thrived now pivoting to politics or just disappearing altogether? And most importantly, what does that tell us about the future of gaming content itself? Today we'll be pulling back the curtain on what I'm calling the death of the gaming YouTuber. It's a story about algorithms, greed, and the hollowing out of a culture, but also about survival in a system designed to kill what so many of us once loved. I am Lady Decade. If you like spicy gaming content, then hit subscribe, as this is why a lot of gaming YouTubers aren't really making that much in the way of gaming content anymore. Gaming channels focusing on gaming might be dropping like flies at the moment, but don't worry, there's still one place where you can always come out on top. Forget worrying about algorithms or ad revenue. The real battleground is your wallet, and you can get up to 90% off of thousands of titles if you're clever enough not to pay full retail. From nearly half of the Brilliant Expedition 33 to huge discounts on Stellar Blade and Black Myth, Wukong, plus thousands more across PC and console. There has never been a better time to stock up and play the best for less. Use my links down below, as not only will you get great deals, but it will help the channel massively. Happy shopping, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. When we talk about why gaming channels have disappeared from YouTube, let's talk about one of the main culprits that often gets the blame: the big bad YouTube algorithm. It's a cold hard fact.
I thought she was gonna say how so many like jaded people just like video games sucks nowadays. It was better back in the day. Like, dude, you playing the that same like AAA games non-stop. Of course it sucks, you know. I thought we were gonna go that way because that is a whole thing onto itself as well. Of them people that just like all they do is bitch about like video games sucking. And like, man, maybe you need to go play something other than, you know, AAA 48 or whatever.
It's that around 70% of all views on the platform don't come from direct searches or subscriptions. They instead come from recommendations. In practice, this means the algorithm isn't just a background mechanic. It's the engine that decides who succeeds and who fades into irrelevance. For gaming creators, that simple fact shapes everything. All signs indicate that at present, the system simply doesn't favour gaming. For example, a 2023 study by the University of Arkansas analysed nearly 700,000 YouTube shorts and found that once users spent even a modest amount of time watching political videos, the recommendation engine actively shifted them away from neutral or hobbyist content and deeper into political material.
I can understand
Instead
that.
of circling back to gaming.
Yeah, they're getting into like the whole thing. I don't remember the name of the channel that did a filament about that. That was like how many videos and how many shorts it take before YouTube stopped recommending like alt-right pipeline type shit. I think it was, if I remember, I think it was like 900 shorts. I don't remember what the number was on like the main video or the like long form video. But yeah, I think the other reason like YouTube go that way, is obviously, you know, the alt-right, like Nazi type shit is like obviously fall into that camp of like, you know, the whole thing about, you know, if you want to make money off of content, you need to strike some type of feeling within someone. And once again, you have the one side of being like the people like, yeah, you know. And then on the other side, you had the people like that just in the comment screaming about them all being Nazis and bigots. And because of like the posts and the comment, the likes, all that stuff, it just heavily just put that any more so. Because that the content that get the most reaction, the most like engagement. And I think honestly that the real reason. I don't think YouTube want you to become a Nazi. It just happened to be that the content that get the most engagement. So in return, yeah, it would make sense they would put that kind of content. Just in general.
Other entertainment niches, the system built momentum that's
Which
kept
we told
pushing
made the ad
viewers
weight go
further
up as
into
well.
politics. Other researchers have described the same tendency in stronger terms. A report by the Pew Research Center noted that YouTube's recommendations often funneled users towards partisan politics and religious content, regardless of their viewing
AIG
history.
the chat.
In other words, even apolitical viewers who only dabbled in political videos were nudged further down that path.
Yep.
For gaming creators, no matter how loyal their audiences might have been, they are currently competing against an algorithm with a built-in gravitational pull towards controversy. The reason for this is simple. The algorithm is designed to reward emotion.
Yep.
As one analysis in
Hey, look at that. What we were just talking about.
The Atlantic observed, the system rewards immediate emotional responses,
Would give
anger,
you interaction
outrage,
with
and
the
strong
posts. Yep.
reactions more than thoughtful game analysis.
Remember, the two things in life you can always rely on for views. Like, I get three things, technically. Chaotic, like going off the well energy, you know, your celebrity fit fight with paparazzi, Britney Spears shaving hell, like that kind of stuff. And then of course the other thing is obviously sex. And then of course like this stuff, like the more like feeling reactionary type of content.
By its very nature, a careful 22 minutes review of an RPG simply cannot compete with a fiery reaction to a political scandal. The result is that gaming content
Also the other reason why you've seen so many people, especially in the live streaming field and by proxy, YouTubers that also do that have moved into the whole thing. You know, obviously now in politics, but ain't like a few years ago with like drama bait and shit. And ain't now you could still say it's still drama bait and shit. It's still a thing of like starting beefs. It's still, I'm never gonna forget the one Twitch event I went to. And just walking around hearing like dissing content creator planning out like artificial beat with each other to get more views. So, and to get on like live stream fails and stuff. So like yeah.
especially reviews, retrospectives, or let's plays, are structurally disadvantaged. It doesn't trigger the spikes of engagement the system wants. Political and cultural commentary on...
Because I think the other side of that also is the whole thing of like, you can kind of get down a little bit, especially when you get into the heavy fanboy stuff. But at the same time, it's like the engagement that would like get you a leg up. We'll start getting into like less about like, oh, the game sucks because you you see it all the time. Deal of like the whole thing like, oh, this game is terrible because like, oh, I had like frame rate or something, and then someone else would be like, hey, puppet, there's nothing wrong with it, and then just like bickering in the comment. But at the same time, the majority of that kind of reviews it like, instead of getting like fanboy fighting over like, oh, Nintendo better than Sony or whatever, or like you lying about the frame rate, the stuff that happened with what was that? I think it was Starfield, right? well, all the reviewers were saying all this stuff about it not being good, and then everyone like, you lying, and got all pissy, and then came out, and then everyone like, oh, never mind. Well, actually admitting it. But, outside of perceptions like that, is like, really, if you want to take advantage of that, is like, you get the shit that happened with like Devil Boy bathing suits, and like, you know, that is, you know, when you all trying to like give a proper like opinions or helping people out, you know, like, don't get me wrong, comments are comments and engagement, but at the same time, it's like, I know a lot of people are like, why are we fighting over like a train or a bathing suit? I spent billions of hours of my life making it, making it video type of deal. But then again, that is a story as old as time as well. But I would say, honestly, like, a lot of game, like, review stuff, when it comes to, like, the comments you get have got more and more, obviously, extreme and a lot more, like, you know, anti-woke boobies, like, type of comments and engagement.
On the other hand, is practically tailor-made for YouTube's recommendation system. Reactive, emotional, and endlessly renewable. Once a creator steps into that space, their videos are more likely to be boosted and shown to wider audiences, reinforcing
outside of gaming.
So, when people ask why gaming YouTubers began devoting more time to politics, the answer isn't as simple as personal preference. The algorithm itself has been rigged to favour controversy over analysis. For creators, that has meant
also negativity over positivity as well.
Adapting to the system or being buried by it. Even if the algorithm stacked the deck against gaming, you might expect that the sheer size of the global gaming audience would keep that category afloat.
You would think.
After all, gaming is one of the largest entertainment industries in the world, but the numbers tell a very different story. YouTube gaming has been hemorrhaging viewers at a pace that should alarm anyone still relying on it. At the height of the pandemic in Q4 of 2020, YouTube gaming was flying high, recording nearly 1.92 billion hours watched in a single quarter. By Q3 of 2024, so we're looking at August, September and October of 2024, that figure had collapsed to just 1.59 billion hours, a 27% decline in the space of merely a few months, the steepest quarterly drop since viewership was first tracked. To put it bluntly, gaming on YouTube didn't just slow down, it fell off a cliff. And this drop hit certain creators especially hard. According to surveys included in industry reports, mid-tier gaming channels, the bread and butter of YouTube's ecosystem, saw ad revenue fall between 50 and 90% recently.
That was like during the time when I went from making, like, on YouTube, anywhere from like 300 to like 600 a month to like barely breaking the $100 paywall, like during that time period. So, like, yeah, absolutely.
Channels with more than 1 million subscribers are not immune, with some losing half their views and up to 80% of their ad revenue income. For creators who had built their livelihoods on gaming content, this is nothing short of an extinction-level event. The audience that once sustained gaming coverage on YouTube just simply doesn't seem to be there anymore, or at least they're not on YouTube anyway.
Yeah.
So, well,
that also the time when Twitch, like, if you guys remember me talking about it at the time, like, that also the time period when, like, I went from YouTube being, like, my main income to Twitch being my main income. Was around that time as well. And, like, yeah. Like,
McBias explains why political content was getting boosted. The raw collapse in gaming viewership explains why so many creators are abandoning ship. The cold reality is, it is tough to sustain yourself on an increasingly shrinking platform for gaming. For many creators, the writing has been on the wall. Stay loyal to pure gaming coverage and watch their livelihoods evaporate. Or pivot.
Or go do politics, or go do drama. Them are your other options. And depending where you're on a more cold, and, you know, as far like, you know, I get the best way to put it if you think about it. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some right-leaning content creator that does drama stuff, but I feel like the separation there is like the ones that, you know, money over morality, like they are the one, or maybe also belief, you know, ended up becoming the Nazi grifter type. And then the ones that are more like center-ish and like a little left went like the more drama route. It kind of really feel like separated. Like, don't get me wrong, there are obviously some overlap in there. Of people that went drama to politics, back to drama, or just like circling it right now. But yeah, I kind of feel like that will the separation happen after the people like adapt or die types.
Put into something with actual growth potential. In short, creators didn't wake up one day and decide to talk about politics instead of games. They were forced into it by collapsing numbers, falling revenues, and a platform that no longer seemed to value gaming content. But there are even more reasons that feed into why the gaming YouTuber is in decline. So let's dig another layer deeper. If the algorithm tilted the field and viewership was collapsing, the final nail in the coffin for gaming creators was economics, because at the end of the day,
money.
YouTube isn't just about the views, it's about whether you can actually make a living. And when you compare what creators earn across different niches, it becomes painfully obvious as to why so many jumped ship. On average, gaming CPM, so costs per 1,000 views, the basic measure of ad revenue sits at around $2. Political commentary, by contrast, usually earns between $4.50 and $8, while finance and business channels can push above $12.
Yeah, that was it. Like, I knew like business and finance is and was also like that is where you want to be if you want to make the real money. But the thing is, you know, that I kind of feel like when it comes to like business and like that side is a lot more research and a lot more knowledge, you know, and also not counting like a lot of that stuff can get into, you know, having like accounting degree would come in handy. Upheld to just being like over here being like, oh, look what that politician did, or look what the waste did, you know, of just throwing, you know, whole groups of people under the butt type of shit. You know, it's way more easier to react to something that, you know, like, for example, with Trump on Queen, something that Trump did upheld to being, like, reacting to, you know, a bank loan going up 2%. Any if you can make more money into 2%, reactionary to, like, political stuff is way more easier. And once again, way more easier to grip off of people as well.
But simply, a political video with the same view count as a gaming review could generate 2 to 3 times the income, and a finance video 6 times more. To those creators who were already struggling with declining audiences, those differences weren't just tempting, they were decisive.
Yeah, and
sponsorships, which had once provided stability for gaming creators, have also been drying up, according to an analysis published by gamesindustry.biz. Major sponsorship contracts have dried up, with esports organizations wary of spending millions.
This is the other thing as well, is I think there's another thing that not a lot of people talk about as well, of just like, as we get closer and closer into recessions and the company marketing money drying up, a lot of content creators, I feel like, especially knowing how much money they can make off of like politics or other demographics, is like very much starting to lean to the point, instead of like walking a line of being kind of brand, you know, brand safe, of just like, man, hopefully I will work with at Y and Z company, is now getting to the point of like, fuck them. I don't need to be political correct. I don't need to do, you know, the walk the line of like being, you know, add quote the family friendly as you can get, or maybe a brand would want. So I feel like that's another thing. Like, a lot of content creators like back in the day would like walk that line of being a little more extreme, but at the same time trying to stick, well, like, nah, I still need to get my Nike sponsor. Well, I feel like now a lot of content, especially like the younger crowd, I feel fall into that camp of like, oh, I don't need a sponsor. I don't need to work with the company. If they don't want to work with me because of, you know, like political view, OF, whatever, fuck them, you know, type of attitude. And also, like, also making so much money, like the ads and just whatever. For, you know, not everyone the content creator, but for some. I think that also going into it. And also, like, not like all brand, but you know, there's some brands that is okay, you know, sponsoring like a OF model where a few years ago they wouldn't. Just because of like how that industry is also evolving. But yeah, I think that the other side of seeing some of those streams as well of just like, you know, you don't have that leash around content creators of like, I need to not cross the line, because if I cross that line, how am I ever going to get, you know, X, Y, and Z sponsorship? And now it doesn't matter.
On gaming creators. Agencies admitted it had become a lot more difficult to find brand-safe influencers in gaming compared to 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
Some even demanded creators avoid political topics during election cycles, while paradoxically treating gaming itself as politically risky due to its association with toxic communities and violent imagery. This has helped create a perfect storm. So
why there was like another reason why Gamergate were really bad, like for a lot of gamers as well, because that also the other side of that of like the sponsorship and stuff. You know, the whole thing of like, no matter how much you try to stay above board, when you know everybody around you within your niche community, whatever, is just also being shunned. Which I think that the other thing that also play into this of just like, you know, you have any people that just like, you know, guilty by association, and then we turn realizing they never gonna actually get the sponsorship, so fuck it. Let's go rant about, you know, whoever. I think that also playing into it, because, you know, so many are just kind of fucked out of gate. And the ones that not, is like very far in between, or already have some type of relationship with said company that are sponsoring them.
Audiences ask, why don't creators just stick to gaming if that's what they built their channels on? The honest answer is simple. They haven't been able to afford to.
Yeah.
With collapsing views, half the ad rate of political commentary, and dwindling sponsorships, creators have only two real choices: pivot into new territory or quit entirely.
Or I would say there's a third option now, which is once again getting into like the summit types, the lyric types, which is the people that have the luxury to stay in gaming, or to stay in whatever the little niches are inside of gaming. Might it be because they made all the money before this shit happened? Might it be they have a little bit of privilege? You know, able to actually stay in it. Or on the other side is the people that is in that camp of, you know, because they do exist, it's some of the people that don't really care about the money stuff, and it's just a little icing on the cake, and they just want to, you know, be a part of it. And then you also have just the old people that have been doing it forever and they don't want to change. Might it be, again, their own bet interests? Or, you know, the people, once again, like the Lilith types, the one that, you know, they pretty much good, and, you know, they can take the hit without having to constantly be chasing, you know, whatever the new big, you know, thing is. Might it be political, might it be drama.
Most who survived,
but that's so small.
To pivot. Even if YouTube's algorithm and monetization policies had been friendlier to gaming, creators would still have faced a serious problem. The gaming industry itself doesn't currently give us much to work with.
Yeah.
For years, YouTubers could rely on a steady flow of single-player releases, expansions, and sequels to keep their channels active. But recently, that flow has slowed to a trickle.
Yeah, this is the whole reason why, like, you see a lot of content creators that end at camp either gotta neat down to like 1 or 2 games, or they would just straight up go like indies. Because indie, all you got. Because your option here with indie or like live service community-driven games. And the thing is, if you are someone who, you know, can't tolerate being like, oh, I'm gonna play this game for the next 5 years, any if it only for videos, or can't tolerate like some pixel art game or some like artsy-fartsy type of game, and they can't do it, you know, because of, you know, whatever reason, you know, might it be just, you know, cold mine or whatever. It's like, yeah, the people that fall into that camp are also the ones that you will see that would just straight up just quit. Because, you know, nothing there in gaming. Which in between, I still say that also kind of what play into everybody, oh, not everyone, but play into the amount of people that want to want claiming video game is terrible nowadays and were better on use as well.
AAA game budgets that once sat between $50 and $150 million now regularly reach $200 to $300 million, and in some cases more than $1 billion once marketing is factored in. One studio, according to financial filings, spent $660 million on development and a further $550 million on marketing for a single franchise entry. Numbers like these make publishers extremely risk-averse.
Yeah, why we don't get that much
originality, and resources are funneled into safe, familiar franchises. Even those franchises are far from guaranteed. In 2023 alone, 42 major projects were cancelled. By mid-2025, the list of casualties included The Last of Us Online, Project Odyssey, Battlefield Mobile, Wonder Woman, Perfect Dark, Everwild, and EA's Black Panther. For YouTubers, each cancellation wasn't just a disappointment as a player, it was the loss of months of potential content.
And also a little bit of revenue. For example, like when Dune got delayed, or Wayfile got delayed, it's like, ugh. For me, it was just like, well, I get they'll go my financial plan for the next month or so. So that also is a thing as well.
Games disappear mid-development, so too do the stories creators rely on to feed their channels. The industry's obsession with live service models has made the situation worse. Unlike single-player titles, live service games produce very little variety for content creators. Instead of in-depth reviews, story...
To be honest, that's the reason I went with MMOs, because my mindset behind it was like, especially like Fantasy Star being like 10 years of content with the MMO. Like, there were plenty of stuff to make videos on it long term, and it was up to, you know, NGX came around, but up to that point there was. But at the same time, it's like, you know, there's a lot of live service games that don't talk about shit. You know, looking at like a lot of like the Korean, Japanese stuff that just like, you know, it's like pulling teeth to get any information to make any type of video. So that as well is like live service MMO game and nowhere near as deep as they used to be, and nowhere near as like community driven as they used to be. Because like back in the day, you know, if you had a slow day, you could fill it in by, you know, talking about something in the community. That not drama baiting would be like example that would be like a lot of the like Final Fantasy 14 fan fest or the EverQuest fan fest stuff. As example, or like if you ever read any Wizard magazine back in the day, you would know exactly what I'm talking about for that type of stuff. But a lot of that stuff don't exist in a way that is easily consumable to fit back out as content for like a video or blog post or anything like that anymore, because everything is just so fragmented. If the game ain't lucky enough to have a community at all, that is.
Analysis or long retrospectives, YouTubers are left with patch notes, seasonal updates, and balance changes. The result is coverage that quickly becomes repetitive.
And a handful of guys.
Industry analysis.
Also patch roadmap updates. That stuff is not evergreen. That stuff only gonna be useful within like maybe at most a week, and then that's just dead content. Cause that content doesn't matter like a week after the fact as well. So you have such a short window to get anything out of it.
put it, creators are trapped in cycles of covering lawsuits, pricing controversies, and studio closures, leading to audience fatigue. Of course, indie games have provided some relief. Titles like Pal World and Expedition 33 broke sales records and earned rave reviews, showing that innovation is still alive. But less than 0.1% of indie projects ever achieve comparable success. Expecting 1 or 2 viral hits a year to sustain thousands of gaming channels worldwide.
Yeah, like you can make like thousands of videos off of stuff, but realistically, yeah, only a handful of them are gonna be like the big thing that a lot of people YouTube rely on in the AAA faithful videos. Like, absolutely, because like the thing also with indies is like, well, you once again fall into a niche such as like the cozy stuff. It like there was plenty of stuff to make content on, but only so much to actually get viewership on.
Simply isn't realistic. The combination of ballooning budgets, risk-averse publishers, repetitive live service content, and waves of cancellations has created what can only be described as a content desert. Creators aren't abandoning gaming because they've lost interest, they're being forced elsewhere because the industry isn't producing enough material for them to cover. For the first time in decades, the pipeline that once sustained gaming media has broken down, and that breakdown has left YouTubers scrambling to fill the void with whatever topics.
I think also the other thing about that is like, you need like back in the day covering like companies and like game releases and stuff like that was also like back in the day a lot more like hopeful and a lot more like energetic. Well, like, that is so far and in between nowadays, just because, like, with how much the game industry as a whole have consolidated, and so much of it, you know, for good or bad, depending on how you want to look at it, have went from, let's do acid at work and get wasted and make games, Atari in the 70s, to, like, the over-the-top, like, artsy, like character focus, like game dev, you know, your Kojima, your Quippy Bees, you know, type of people. Where like now is like when you see a lot of game company stuff, it usually like the devs are horribly burnt out or born into the camp of it at a 9 to 5, you know, nothing is like, I shouldn't say nothing. But, you know, a lot of the stuff is not really passion projects anymore or ideal of the community that exists inside the companies. A lot of them, like, this game is either a 9 to 5 paycheck as well as just being about the books. You know, a lot of, like, the excitement and energeticness and characters of game dev have kind of just fell away. Like, don't get me wrong, you still got your Kojimas and whatnot, but I think that the other thing that doesn't help is, like, you know, well, back in the day, where, like, the devs would be so involved in, like, the player base and the community stuff, and nowadays, you're lucky if they any mention you outside of numbers, which in return is the main reason why I think Yoshi P kind of blew up, you know, back when he was blown up when he took over 14. It's because he was one of them devs that, at least at the time, I don't know how he is now, but at the time, you know, someone that obviously played game, that obviously was involved in the community, appealed to, you know, something like, you know, half of the Sega project where, like, half of the time you don't even know what branch of Sega they ain't making said game. And that can go for many other companies as well. I'm looking at you, Ubisoft, as an example of that as well. But I think that the other part of it, like, you don't have that, like, the over-the-top, like, you know, like Quidma to a lot of these companies anymore, because so much of them are just beaten down to the 9 to 5 at that point.
Still generate engagement. But in this modern world of content creation, some creators are doing very, very well. If there's one figure who illustrates this shift from gaming coverage to political commentary, it's Asmongold.
Yeah.
For over a decade, Zach Hoyt was known almost exclusively for his World of Warcraft
Say what you
streams
will,
from
but
2011 through to the late
you know,
2010s.
he
built
made a
reputation
fucking jump
as
and
the
was
go-to voice
successful
for
on
WoW
it.
commentary. By 2025, his output looked very different. His alternate channel, Zach Raw, had become Twitch's most watched political channel, drawing millions of hours of viewership and surpassing even established news streamers. This transition wasn't random. Political content on Twitch more than tripled in viewership between early and late 2024, and Asmongold was perfectly positioned to seize that growth.
Yeah, because he already had his tendencies that was already adapting, you know, white-leaning people. And, you know, also once again come out of the Gamergate stuff and, you know, wow, well. And just like to be honest, Asmongold kind of fell into that, like, perfect storm of, like, taking advantage of becoming a grifter and having the viewer base already ready to become a grifter. You know, it wasn't like an overnight thing. Because, you know, he always had them sharp edges. But, it makes sense why he blew up so fucking fast. To being, like, 1 month just being, like, a joke in the politic community to just being, like, you know, a pillar of it, especially on the white-leaning side. Which it, you know, kind of impressive, but at the same time, you know, it makes sense. But yeah.
As one industry analysis put it, by 2025, political commentary constituted a major component of his content, reflecting broader market forces. In other words, this wasn't necessarily a matter of personal preference.
Bigotry.
This was a rational move in the direction that the audience and the money were heading. Part of his success comes down to circumstance. Unlike many YouTubers and streamers balancing other jobs or family obligations, Asmongold had the lifestyle that allowed him to stream endlessly. Being able to go live for marathon sessions meant he could capture political flashpoints as they happened and ride the algorithm's wave in real time. Most creators simply don't have that option.
Had editor to put
in that sense,
so many
he was
clips
lucky
on
as well as skilled. A shut-in who could dedicate extraordinary amounts of time to capitalising on a shifting landscape. That doesn't make his pivot any less telling. His streams now routinely draw between 60,000 and 300,000 concurrent viewers, sometimes rivaling the audiences of cable news networks. When he covers a political controversy, his clips can rack up millions of views on YouTube within days. That level of engagement dwarfs anything possible through gaming coverage alone.
Yeah.
And the example he set hasn't gone unnoticed. Other gaming personalities, such as Young Ye, have made similar moves, folding cultural and political commentary into their once gaming exclusive channels. Asmongold may be the most visible, but he isn't unique. The broader pattern is unmistakable. Creators who once defined themselves by their coverage of games are now defined by their takes on the culture surrounding them. So, while Asmongold's case is extreme, it proves the rule rather than breaking it. The pivot to politics isn't about abandoning gaming so much as it is about survival. When your audience grows larger, your revenue doubles or triples and your engagement spikes every time you branch into cultural or political topics, it would be irrational not to follow that path. For creators, the choice is clear. Either adapt to the new incentives or risk being left behind. So far, we've looked at the structural forces, the algorithm, the revenue gap, and the industry's content drought. But to really understand why creators pivoted to politics, we also need to look at the audience, because while money...
Also, I think the other thing on the politics front, once again, like the Gamergate shit, like between like the Gamergate shit and the Trump shit, is like... You know, I think we can all agree that, you know, pretty much from 2016, 2015, like, politics stopped being, mainly because, you know, Trump realized this as, you know, an ex-reality star, slash, I get movie star before that, of realizing that, you know, the same type of design that once again, celebrities, and by proxy, like content creator have went for attention.
Where the fuck is everyone? Joe? CM? Rag? Pride? Mayo?
They sleeping.
Halo?
They all sleeping. They all sleeping right now.
Lonely.
Not lonely, sleepy. But god damn it. But like, you know, politics went. Hello.
Katie Adele's song.
Oh god. Politics went from just being the thing that only old people care about to being no this and then a paparazzi like TMZ shit. And I think that the other thing that also have amplified it, especially for like content creators, and then of course the Gamergate that played into the gamer side being it. Just because it's like it no longer old people talking about boring shit. Now it's old people pretending like they hit with the kids while waving around Nazi flags, you know. And, you know, way more like energetic for certain crowds to actually care and pay attention to it. And then not counting the whole thing of, you know, politics becoming so much more touching the average folk, appealed to being more like tangential off in the side. So I think that also the other thing that kind of have helped, you know, amplify that up for this.
And algorithms explain the supply side. Parasocial engagement explains the demand side. Audiences no longer just want to be entertained, they want to feel connected. And research published in the Journal of Political Communication noted that viewers form deeper connections with creators who share personal opinions on broad cultural issues, rather than those who simply review games.
Troy.
Political content provides that sense of intimacy in a way that gaming rarely can. The numbers show how behaviour has shifted. According to data from Stream Hatchet, gaming audiences now spend an average of 8.5 hours a week watching gaming-related content, compared to just 7.4 hours actually playing games. But
yeah,
those
people don't
hours
play games
aren't
anymore.
going into long-form reviews or let's plays. Instead, they're spent on drama, reactions, and personality-driven commentary. Basically, viewers are far less interested in hearing someone breaking down combat mechanics than they are about a familiar voice weighing in on an issue that they care about.
Fart.
Political commentary also gives creators a toolkit for building stronger characters.
Oh god, here we go, bot shit. God damn it. It take a moment. It take a moment.
Social bonds. Communication researchers identify 4 key dimensions of perceived authenticity: consistency, intimacy, ordinariness, and immediacy. Talking about politics,
the two bots going at once,
creators share unfiltered opinions, often in real time, and present themselves as ordinary people reacting alongside their audience. That immediacy makes viewers feel as though they now know the creator personally, and that intimacy often translates into loyalty, engagement, and even financial support. Gaming content struggles to replicate this. A Let's Play is about the game, not the person.
Yeah.
A review is about mechanics and graphics, not values and beliefs. Even carefully produced...
Yeah, with the whole review thing, that's the reason why, you know, you will have... one of the reasons, not the reason, but the main reason why, you know, personality wasn't really a thing back in the day in like game reviews, especially when you're dealing with outlets that had like whole teams. You know, it wasn't about the person, which is also the other reason why a lot of stuff like IGN and GameSpot and all of them back in the day, when social media started coming up, had like rules where you couldn't, you know, actually have it and you couldn't post the stuff if you worked for them companies. Like, they wouldn't let you also post down your personal stuff at the time. You know, that is something that only, in the last maybe 5-6 years that have started changing. But yeah, back in the day, like, if you were the game reviewer, you had to do it, like, on the website or through the outlet. And you couldn't do it off platform. You know, you couldn't go out and make your own Twitter account and do the same thing. Which is the main reason why you saw a lot of people who, like, left that if they didn't get a job at some other gaming company or plat company, they would not do gaming content for a certain amount of times, and they had no compete clause when they quit or got fired.
Retrospectives rarely give viewers the sense that they're participating in an ongoing cultural conversation. Political content, by contrast, is never finished. Every election, every controversy.
Also, that other thing, our gaming stuff within like 1 week to a month, it's gone and no one gonna think about it again.
Every breaking headline provides new opportunities for creators and their audiences to interact. This is why so many gaming content creators described feeling trapped. When they stuck to gaming, they got surface level engagement, a handful of likes, the occasional comment, maybe a share. But when they voiced an opinion on a political or cultural issue, the response was overwhelming. Communities formed around them, debates raged in their comment sections, and viewers pledged long-term support. The shift wasn't only financial, it was psychological. In short, politics offers what gaming can't, a deeper, more personal bond between creator and audience. That bond not only keeps viewers...
Also, I think the other thing about that is as well, as politics become more and more in your face for the average person, and it no longer, once again, like something that just kind of happens in the background, I think that also play into it because, like, you know, movie, game, whatever, can only do so much of a distraction, especially in the climate we in right now. And I think that also kind of plays into it, like, you know, like, entertaining content, can only distract you for so long, appealed to, like, politics being in your face constantly every waking moment. And I think that also, you know, add more of a connection, though, for a lot of people as well. Because, like, oh, gaming night, but this whatever is happening, pro or against or whatever for you, depending on where you fall, it's way more important than, you know, playing some AAA game or whatever, at least in the long term. Outside of the few, like, either shut-in types, you know, living under the rock, or the people that have the luxury to not give a shit about politics because they know they're gonna be fine. Like, outside of them people, like, the majority of other people are like, you know, what happened when they wake up news-wise is more important than, you know, whatever gaming thing happening in the moment. Especially since most of the gaming stuff gonna be gone in a week to a month before the net thing come along.
Watching it keeps them coming back, commenting, donating, and spreading the word. For those creators fighting to survive in a shrinking market, that kind of loyalty is priceless. If the algorithm sets the rules and parasocial bonds gave creators an edge, then culture war framing turned it all into a money printing machine. Once politics began bleeding into gaming, creators discovered they could take almost any gaming topic and reframe it as a political or cultural flashpoint, instantly multiplying its reach and profitability. The flexibility of this approach is what makes it so effective. A character's design is no longer just an artistic decision, it becomes a debate about cultural values, beauty standards, or so-called wokeness. A round of layoffs at a major studio is no longer business news. It becomes an opening to talk about capitalism, corporate greed, or mismanagement. Even something as simple as review scores can be reframed as evidence of bias or ideological capture. The game itself often becomes secondary to the argument that it generates. The numbers prove that works. According to engagement studies cited in gamesindustry.biz, political or culture war gaming content generates 400% more comments than standard reviews. On YouTube, where engagement drives recommendations, that difference is enormous.
The
Sweet Baby Inc. controversy in early 2024 provides the clearest example. A group of creators and Steam curators accused a consultancy firm of shaping character design decisions to push diversity and inclusion initiatives. Whatever you thought of the claims, the controversy was viral gold. The Sweets Baby Inc. Detected Curator Group grew from 9,000 to 200,000 followers within a few months. Some creators reported enormous subscriber and view spikes during the peak, making it the single most profitable period of their careers. And Sweets Baby wasn't unique. Black Myth Wukong became a cultural event rather than just a game. Many creators framed their success as an anti-woke victory, and the framing worked. Subscriber counts jumped, and videos on the game drew in millions of views. By turning a popular release into a proxy culture war, creators were able to rally audiences around something far bigger than combat mechanics or art design. The financial incentive here is undeniable as well. The political gaming content typically earns higher CPMs compared to gaming's normal $2. During election cycles, those rates can double again, and on top of that, creators often see boosts in Patreon growth, merchandise sales are tied to identity politics, and Twitch's favourable 95-5 splits for politically charged streams. All of this adds up to an ecosystem where culture war content isn't just more popular, it's significantly more profitable. Creators didn't invent these incentives, they simply adapted to them. The cultural monetization machine rewards those who turn every game into a proxy battle in a wider political struggle. For viewers, it scratches the itch of both entertainment and tribal identity. For creators, it transforms a shaky gaming revenue into a sustainable business model. So when you see gaming YouTubers spending more time debating representation in Assassin's Creed than reviewing the game itself, it isn't an accident, it's economics.
Yeah.
Culture war framing has become the most reliable way to keep audiences engaged, the algorithm satisfied, and revenue flowing. When you put all of the pieces together, the story of gaming's disappearance from YouTube is less about personal choices and more about structural inevitabilities.
Yeah.
Algorithms built to reward outrage.
Like making content online, anything online you post is a financial endeavor. And when you have an endeavor that obviously going to pay you, higher weights in every way, and then you throw capitalism on top of that, of having bills to pay. And then also some people just feel arrogance of wanting to be court leaders. A court thing was going to happen. Obviously, it would happen.
And emotion shifted audiences away from games. Viewership collapsed at unprecedented rates, with YouTube gaming losing more than a quarter of its watch hours in a single quarter. Revenues followed the same pattern, with gaming CPMs languishing near the bottom, while political commentary routinely paid double or triple. The gaming industry itself compounded the problem by cancelling projects, dragging out development cycles, and prioritising live service models that offered little variety for coverage. And as all of this was happening, the institutions of gaming journalism imploded, leaving a vacuum that creators filled not with reporting but with culture war commentary.
No, I'm not. How you
In
doing,
many
Wag?
ways, it was a perfect storm.
I've been drinking
Every
some Fago.
force,
How you doing,
technical,
Wag?
economic, industrial, and cultural, conspired against gaming creators at once. Even those determined to stick to games had to face plummeting views and evaporating sponsorships. When political content was not only safer but far more profitable, the pivot wasn't about selling out, it was about survival. So, where does that leave gaming content today? The golden age of pure gaming channels is over. The future belongs to hybrids, creators who treat games as one strand in a broader conversation.
Yeah, because you can still grow off of gaming content, but the thing is, you always gonna plateau though. That is the main thing. It's you will always plateau around probably 5K. Because from what I have seen, especially as someone, don't get me wrong, I've been making YouTube videos going back to 2005, 2006. There were still videos on YouTube of me from that time period. But, I started taking YouTube seriously, we're in the 2020 field. And, I wouldn't say cam up, but, started doing it full time around then. And seeing a lot of other people doing it around then, especially in the MMO, anime, live Soviet crowd. like, yeah, pretty much everyone. Like, everyone pretty much elite that started around the same time have usually peaked at around 4 to like 6 to 7,000 subscribers. You know, like I can only think of like what, maybe Quopy is like the only one, but with that being said, it's like I think Quopy was doing stuff pre-2020. Because I know Anamana would have been another one, but Anamana came from like the Destiny days, so it doesn't really count on his end. Because, you know, he had a good like 5-ish plus year over everybody else. But yeah, kind of like everyone that started gaming stuff around 2020, like all of us have like plateau roughly within a 1 to 2,000 range of each other. So that's like another example. Like I know it's a small example, but still like an example of like gaming content in general. It kind of just have like a ceiling on it, and the ceiling is not that big.
Culture, politics, and identity. For some, that's an opportunity to grow bigger than ever before. For others, it marks the end of focused gaming communities that once thrived on the platform. But either way, one thing is certain. Gaming YouTube didn't fade because people lost interest in games. It was hollowed out by algorithms, economics, and industry failures, and cultural shifts.
I would any argue that technically Elite for content creation also came from algorithm and whatnot. Because don't forget, like, gaming YouTube mainly came up because YouTube started promoting longer form content because they wanted people to stick around the website longer. And many gamers will like, oh, I have that. I have a perfect thing for that. Let plays. You know, put 30-minute, hour, 2-hour long let plays up in chunks. And that's how you got, you know, like your Jesse Coxes, your PewDiePies, your Markipliers, and whatnot. We're taking advantage of that, you know, loophole and that type of promotion.
Made politics the dominant
form of
entertainment,
what it was on YouTube.
Unless those forces change, the trend isn't going to reverse. Gaming creators face the same stark choice they've faced for years now: adapt or disappear. And speaking of adapting, through my affiliate links, you can get up to 90% off of thousands of titles from nearly half of.
Okay, are we only in ad territory? We might be in ad territory now.
Across PC and console. And there's never been a better time to stock up and play the best for less.
Yep, we in ad category time. But yeah, like, interesting to see that, like, for my own opinion, my own research kind of lined up pretty perfectly, like, with all the points she made, and pretty much all the points I made at the beginning. But yeah, like, it honestly made sense, like, gaming went the way it did. And like I said, I personally blame 2016 election and Gamergate. Like, Gamergate started the fire, and then, like, the stuff that happened with Trump in 2016 into 2020 into 2024 just was, like, you know, gasoline on the fire that was already spreading, the Gamergate stuff. But yeah, it's sad, Chad. It's sad, but sadly, I like, it's just kind of the way they're gonna go no matter what, because of, you know, I said, well, the viewership is, well, people attention is, well, people panic is, and also, well, money is. And also, let's be honest, it makes sense because politics, the most laziest content you can technically, like, react to. Especially if you take more to, like, mainstream politics. Like, don't get me wrong, you can get into, like, the ins and outs of certain things that equally as much research heavy as something like, you know, the stock market or investments or any of that stuff. But I think that other thing is, like, a lot of gamers also, especially the react streamer type gamer, like, politics is very easy to react to on a surface level. That will do what you need to do for, you know, whatever side you might lean on. any of, you know, obviously, you know, the Nazi side is the better way to lean on, just because, you know, a reactionary to get your stuff out there easy, or appeal to, you know, like the left or anything. But yeah, I think it was pretty spot on. A wine, gaming content creators barely exist, and if they do, it very much like adjacent with a little bit of gaming here and there when it can be used at a broad points, such as, you know, Maconn and Devil Blade as example. But yeah, I don't think we will ever see gaming YouTube in the same way we did in like 2011, 2012, sadly.